The initial material in this presentation is excerpted from the book Moral Politics: How Liberals and Conservatives Think by George Lakoff. Later, I will present some of my own ideas. George was a classmate of mine at Indiana University. I thought he was brilliant then, and nothing he has done since has changed my opinion. In the strict father family, father knows best. He knows right from wrong and has the ultimate authority to make sure his children and his spouse do what he says, which is then taken to be what is right. Many conservative spouses accept this worldview, uphold the father's authority, and are strict about this. When his children disobey, it is his moral duty to punish them painfully enough so that to avoid punishment, they will obey him, do what is right, and not just do what feels good. Through physical discipline, they are supposed to become disciplined, internally strong, and able to prosper in the external world. What if they don't prosper? That means they are not disciplined and therefore cannot be moral and so deserve their poverty. This reading shows up in conservative politics in which the poor are seen as lazy and undeserving, and the rich are seen as deserving their wealth. Responsibility is thus taken to be personal responsibility, not social responsibility. What you become is only up to you. Society has nothing to do with it. You are responsible for yourself only, and not for others who are responsible for their own selves. Authority is then justified by morality, the strict father, and in a well-ordered world, there has been and should be a moral hierarchy in which those who have traditionally dominated should continue to dominate. This hierarchy is God above man, man above nature, disciplined, strong above undisciplined and weak, rich above poor, employers above employees, adults above children, Western culture above other cultures, America above other countries, men above women, whites above non-whites, Christians above non-Christians, and straights above gays. Such moral worldviews can run deep, since people tend to want to see themselves as doing right, not wrong. Moral worldviews tend to be a part of self-definition, who you most deeply are. In my view, this presentation is greatly oversimplified and cannot be applied to people in general without a great deal of analysis and sympathetic understanding. However, I do believe there is a solid core of truth underlying his analysis, and I would like to try to understand it by using a different method. Duns Scotus was a medieval philosopher who proposed that moral acts are accomplished by an interaction between free will and intellect. The will is dominant and has two main goals. First is the optimum good for oneself and then the family. Second is the optimum good for others. The key definition here is others. Christ's answer to this question was the parable of the Good Samaritan. George Lakoff's proposed answer to this question for conservatives is in the moral hierarchy. Let's put this another way. Consider insiders versus outsiders. Insiders are those who share your values, social class, social identity, etc. Outsiders tend to be the opposite. We tend to think of outsiders as less than human and treat them as exempt from the good neighbor class. This helps us to understand the pervasive presence of racism, prejudice against people of color, disdain for the poor and disadvantaged, homophobia, anti-Semitism, and so forth. An individual's conscience is made up of the habitual moral choices based on one's underlying value system. Because these choices are habitual, you don't even have to think consciously about them. You just do them. This is why racism, etc., these things are ingrained in the culture in so many different ways, often very subtly. We can see now that there is an infinite number of possible moral profiles among Americans. They differ in their free wills, their intellects, their value systems, and consciences. But these are still very strong belief systems, and they can form the intellect and the conscience, which are then shared by North Americans. Lakoff claims that American conservatives tend to believe in and follow the moral hierarchy that he has proposed. What do you think?